Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Broadway Jets YouTube channel. You'll know me from Twitter as NYJ Mike. I'm joined as always by the master of receipts, NYJ Matt, and today we have a very special guest. He writes for Jets X Factor. He provides stats that you've never heard of or thought of in your entire life. It's Mr. Michael Nania. Nania, thanks for joining, bro.
I'm glad to be here. I mean, what a fun time right now in Jetsland. I mean, maybe not for me so much at certain times, but definitely for us as a fan base, it's a lot of fun.
And we got to talk about it. Nania, you got dragged for your BAM night over Dalvin Cook, and it's a good theme of the show of your hot takes, bold predictions. Take us through it because you have a 99% approval rating on Jets Twitter. People love your content. Obviously, they still do. But that one BAM night tweet, it's going to go down the Hall of Fame as one of the best times I've ever laughed. Take us through why you think BAM night, at that time, you had the edge over Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, look, I mean, for me with Dalvin Cook, the whole thing has been, ever since this was a rumor, however many months ago when it first started to come up, has been, for me, whenever a player comes up as a potential candidate for the Jets, I always, take the time to let's research this guy, his stats, his analytics, his film, all of it, and get the whole picture before I say, I'm excited about this guy or I'm not excited about this guy. I'm not just going to, I've heard of Dalvin Cook. I know he's made Pro Bowls. He's won me fantasy leagues, lost me games playing against other teams. I'm not just going to make my opinion off that right away. So, with Cook, I researched him. I was like, let's see, how much does he still have left in the tank? What does he offer at this point? And, there are a number of red flags that come with him that I thought are, pretty fair to be concerned about, whether it's the drops, the fumbles, the blocking. And then last year, his production did, fall off in a lot of areas in terms of his rushing efficiency and, all those metrics, trying to separate him from the offensive line and the surroundings and all that. So I thought there were a lot of reasonable concerns. And, looking at Zonovan Knight, he's a guy who I thought was kind of trending in the opposite direction because, I mean, we know how it works with running backs. They peak early and they decline pretty rapidly once they get to that point where Cook is at. So I figured, Knight's going into his second year, and I really liked the way he played last year, and he did have good blocking in those first 3 games. The last 4 games when his stats fell off, that's when Mike White got hurt, and Knight had negative yardage before contact in those last 4 games. So I feel like he got a bad rap for his numbers falling off in those 4 games, and when he did have reasonable blocking, he looked really good. And then you add on top of that, I thought he showed really good hands, good blocking potential, some of the things that Cook doesn't offer. And I figured, let's go with the young guy, put them in the same offense with the same blocking. I like the guy who's trending up. So that was my rationale. But, we're at this point now, and Cook is here. So I'm going to root for him, and I hope that he proves me wrong and that he absolutely balls out. He's, Shaq and Kobe with Brees, and we have a Super Bowl run with him. So I don't care about being right. Hopefully I'm wrong. But, I'm still high in Zonovan Knight. We'll see if he sticks around. And
What an irrational bullshit take.
so,
I love it too.
I get it. I get it because it's very. I know how out there it is, and like the way I look at things is very different than most people. Like not a lot of people are as insane as I am and would actually spend as much time researching these very, admittedly overly detailed kind of metrics or even watching the film and stuff like that. So I get it. And, I could end up being wrong. Probably.
I was joking with you
yeah.
where people would be like, this guy's just looking at numbers where you are embedding multiple clips and film.
Right.
And you actually do watch film. Like, man, I don't watch any film. So I don't
Yeah,
even know.
like
Dalvin Cook down like that. That's our level
of
insight for it. And it's funny because people were like, you're so negative, like going at you for being negative when you convinced me in 2020 that Bradley McDougall was going to be an all-pro safety.
I did like McDougall. I wrote 100 reasons to believe in Sam Darnold. So I feel like I'm an optimistic guy. Like I like to analyze and like be honest if there's something I disagree with.
We're right about that take.
Yeah.
We're fine. With Sam Darnold, we're obviously pro Sam. What about Cook do you like in this offense?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I like is the home run potential is definitely still there. I think last year, if there's anything you could say, I know he's going to bring that at this point, or at least you feel confident because, he is 28. We'll see. And, coming off the shoulder surgery and all that. But the home run potential is still there. I think Next Gen Stats had him at, and I know saying this stuff is like, oh, here we go, the stats again. But this is a positive one. They had him at the third highest
You could use
max
stats if
speed.
they're positive. That's fine.
Yeah, then it's okay. It's perfectly fine. But no, he did have the third highest max speed reached of any running back last year, and Brees was second. So we now have 2 of the top 3 running backs in terms of max speed last year. And then he had the most yards per breakaway run, which tells you that, when he gets to that second level and he gets that blocking, he's good at making it. He's not going to get caught up and get stuck with 15 to 20 yards. He can get those 30, 40-yard runs to really break a drive open. So the home run potential and the long speed, I definitely feel confident he's going to bring that. It's just some of the little things that I'm concerned about. Like, is he going to have a big fumble in a big spot or a big drop or, some bad blocks, like little things like that? I am concerned. I want to see him prove that he could take a
I
step
remember
up
the
there.
drop in the Bills game right before last year, before Josh Allen very clutch fumbled the ball in his own goal, in his own end zone. But to your point too, Nania, I was thinking about a comparison with the Jets, and Chris Johnson came to mind. Very similar career trajectory. Last year with the Titans had around 1,100 yards, less yards per carry than he used to. Comes to the Jets, very solid number 2 guy. So we'll see. And the Jets offense should be a lot better than the 2014 Jets offense. So hopefully there's some more opportunities for Mr. Cook.
And Nania, that was your hot take probably going into the offseason. And this is really the bold prediction part. So going into 2023, I have 2 to 3 that I want to call out. But what stands out, whether it's a hot take, a bold prediction that not a lot of people are talking about, that you think is going to come true in 2023? So Nania, we'll start with you. Mike, we'll pop to you next.
Yeah.
Bold prediction. I mean, I feel like some of the things that I think may have been bold a few weeks or months ago have kind of already started to maybe play out a little bit. Like I would say Tony Adams, I thought was going to have a breakout season, but now we're here and he's like already an established starter who's not even playing in the preseason. So maybe I think Ruckert. I think Ruckert is going to establish himself by the end of the season. I don't know if to start out he'll be overused on it, but I feel like as the season goes on, he's going to outsnap him and he's going to get in there and potentially make some big plays in the red zone. So I'm going to put my marbles in on the Ruckert breakout.
I like it. It was funny. He had 1 drop in the Browns game and then was inactive for 10 straight weeks. We obviously didn't get to see a lot of him, but I think
he had his chance to make his first catch and it's never again till later.
Yeah. Mike, what about you?
That's an interesting one. The tight ends. I was always curious with Rodgers and the tight ends. He's had some guys with some good years like Tonyan and Martellus Bennett, strange guys. But anyway, I think my bold prediction, I think the Jets offensive line is going to be a top 10 unit in football, especially after all of this hullabaloo and this nonsense. It's not nonsense, but the Jets line has been maligned this preseason. You saw the Salah speech in Hard Knocks. You saw Connor Hughes and Samini bashing them the other day in the Bucs practice, rightfully so. Don't let up 5 or 6 sacks in 10 plays. But you're missing Dwayne Brown, you're missing AVT, you're missing Lakin. Becton's not playing with that unit. Like we've been talking about, Matt, and a lot of other people, I think the line at some point, and hopefully to start the season, maybe the Jets coaches will get this through their head, will be Brown, Lakin, whichever center, McGovern or Tippmann, AVT, and Becton. And I think that unit is somehow going to stay on the field together. And when they do that, they're going to be a top 10 unit in football, unlocking unbelievable potential for this team.
I agree. Yeah. I think they have the ceiling to do it. Nania, looking at the offensive line, is that your ideal 5? And how do you think it's going to shape up? Because my bold prediction, to spoil it, I don't think Becton and Tippmann start week 1. I think they're in there by week 4. So I think there's going to be a pace of like Turner or Mitchell starting at right tackle. Becton's going to win that out by week 3 or 4. I think they want to have McGovern under center with Rodgers, and then Tippmann eventually, it comes September, October, will start. So that's kind of a piece of my bold prediction. But Nania, what do you think about the offensive line?
No, that's fair. I mean, I could definitely see it playing out that way. I don't think it would be ideal. I think we could all agree on that, but it does seem like, they really want to see more from Becton from a durability standpoint before they trust him. But, him moving to right tackle today was big. seemingly holding up well. No pads, and it's just one practice. But just the fact that he is there is something that, we didn't think we were going to see maybe a few weeks ago. But now it seems like they're really trying everything.
I never understood
for that solution.
I guess the Jets were really trying to make sure Becton could stand up and play a game first before they want to move him around. But that has to be the reason. But I don't know. It's like such like the Jets realize now that they could put Becton at the other tackle spot.
It's odd. I mean, maybe one thing is because, the injured knee is that right knee. So maybe they figured, right tackle, that's the one he'd be putting his weight on when he drops back. So start him on the other side, see if he can handle it, then try it. And maybe that's part of it. And I know he's been open that he prefers left tackle. So that could also contribute. It is odd.
Like whatever he wants, fucking play. And friend of the program, Mekhi Becton. But Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I also think they thought that Turner or Mitchell could run away and play good during camp and be the right tackle. And you have a blue chip piece behind Dwayne Brown, who you don't know how that shoulder is going to recover. And you can put the best 5 out there regardless. But outside of O-line, I think Allen Lazard is going to have his career high in yards. I think it's only at like 780. But obviously, Garrett Wilson will get a lot of love. The 2 running backs, you have Mecole Hardman, Corey Davis. But there's something about having the trust that Rodgers has in Lazard and all the training camp clips when he's like 15 yards downfield for a first down. I feel like he'll be a reliable guy. He's been pretty healthy in his career so far. So I'm going to go maybe not 8 touchdowns like he had last year, but I think Lazard is going to have a career high in receiving yards and break over 800.
Danny, you just wrote an article. You think Corey Davis is going to have this career year?
Yeah, right? It's funny you say that because I did write an article today that kind of suggests the opposite. I feel like Davis is going to take that second receiver role. I feel like Lazard is going to kind of slide back into a role where he's effective, but like you don't see a lot of him. It's more lower volume, higher efficiency. I feel like that's where he's at his best, but I can also see what you pointed out because, there is that trust factor. He is, the guy they went out and got very early to bring along with Rodgers. Like, did he ask for that? Did he not? I mean, we don't know for sure, but probably it's part of it. So
I forgot about
I can see that.
Yeah. But here's the weird thing with Davis. He's been, back-to-back practices with personal reasons. All the clips you see from training camp are like Rodgers to Wilson. You see a lot of Lazard. Like, is Corey Davis getting the amount of reps and building that trust? We're Corey Davis guys. We want him to win more 50-50 balls, be healthier, like all of that every Jet fan wants. But on the field, when he's healthy, he produces. You put out clips of him being a great run blocker. So very much, there's a lot of mouths to feed. Everyone gets it. I think the Jets want to have an identity in the run game too. So it's like if Rodgers throws the ball 22 times a game and they can still run the ball 30 times as a group, it would be great. So I think Lazard is where I'm like, it's a kind of like bold-ish because he is the third guy with Hardman right behind him. I got one more, but before going to it, Nania, Mike, any other bold predictions you want to throw out there?
I mean, I don't know. Do you have anything bold off the top of your head?
I do. Top of my head,
I mean,
the one that I would say too is, and I don't think it's bold, is just that Garrett Wilson, if he plays 17 games, I would buy 1,400 yards. I mean, and I know we've been talking about the receivers, but how is he not going to have 1 million yards? I just want him to stop cutting like an absolute psychopath. Every time Garrett Wilson gets the ball, he cuts like it's the most important cut in the history of football. We said he needs to adopt the Tyler Lockett mentality where just fall down every time you catch the ball. Don't even run a route. Like save him for the playoffs. Don't even do anything. He cuts so hard.
It's terrifying.
It's insane. He needs to wear like 6 knee braces.
Yeah, the one he had against Miami in that season finale at the when he broke a couple tackles and he kind of like fell. I was like, oh no. But that's just kind of how he plays. It's a double-edged sword. It's like he's super elusive, but he's also putting so much stress. You're like, cringing a little bit watching it.
Yeah, it's a lot. And look, I think there's been every year for 3-4 years, a skill player has to request a trade on the Jets. I'm going to go no requested trade from a running back or a wide receiver because you think right now. You think they have 5 running backs, someone's got to request a trade. I think Bam Knight will probably be gone. And then those 4 guys, I think Michael Carter's, grown up a lot. He understands his role and that Dalvin Cook is on a 1-year deal. And if he has a really good year when he's out there, he can be running back 2 next year. They could potentially move off of Dalvin Cook. And then the receivers, I think everyone knows their role. Corey Davis is the one that does scare me, as I mentioned before, given the connection he he's trying to build with Rodgers, but every year is a headache. Mims request trade, more request trade, running backs complaining about getting carries. Everyone knows their role now. Aaron Rodgers is the dad that nobody wants to disappoint. He's going to get everyone together for 2023. No trade request.
I like
That is bold at this
Have
point.
a nice,
It is bold at this point. We're used to it.
maybe one of the 11 defensive ends will request a trade, but that doesn't fit your skill position guy.
Yeah. What do you think?
The Jets should play like a field goal block defense and just put all 11 guys on the
Just
defensive
Sauce and
line
Reed
once.
outside. I think they could hold it down
Yeah.
by
Yeah,
themselves.
rush 9 guys, put 9
Right.
guys in the box. I mean, Sal is pretty inflexible. He likes to rush 4 more than anybody.
Yep.
I think Matt and I talk about it all the time, Nania, where it felt like even on like 4th and 1, and the other team's going to do a QB sneak or like a fullback dive, the Jets are just like, fuck it, we're playing 4 guys on the line. And then the
And
only
do a wide
time
9, and Bryce Huff is like 30 yards away from the line of scrimmage.
Carl
He's like-
Lawson's playing like on the sideline. But the only time they didn't do it was against the Lions on like on the 50-yard touchdown when they stacked the box play action. I think it was Matthew Wright caught that 50-yard touchdown, but we'll see. I don't know. Defensive line is stacked.
What do you think happens with Carl Lawson, Nania? Obviously, the back injury. You have guys like Jermaine and Will McDonald popping off. Bryce Huff is liking tweets that he wants to play more. What do you think happens with Lawson, and who do you think gets percentage-wise the most pass rush reps out there?
Yeah, I mean, Lawson's injury right now is interesting because, it seemed like at first that back injury wasn't going to be much, but he's been out a decent bit now. And I saw a video actually just before he started recording this of him running in the rehab area, and he's clearly being affected. I don't know if you guys saw that video, but
Yeah,
I saw
like the way he's running, he's like upright. The way he's running down the field, so it does seem like it's something that maybe could be to monitor. Hopefully, he comes back soon. But I mean, it is such a stacked D line, but I think that it only plays even more into the style that the Jets have adopted the past few years, which is being very rotation heavy. No one's playing a lot of snaps. We want to get fresh guys out there the whole game. So I feel like they can lean into that even more than they have the past few years because, like they were very deep last year, but you still had at the end of the year Vinny Curry at the bottom of that rotation, who at that point of his career last season was Nathan Shepard. So like some guys in there who at the bottom, like, not the greatest players, but now like with McDonald joining, Quentin Jefferson and Al Woods, it's like you got all these guys. I think they're just going to lean into that, and we could see even more rotation. So that could hurt for guys like, I don't know if Jermaine Johnson. I think Johnson's going to play more, but is he going to play over half the snaps? Probably not with all these mouths in there. And Bryce Huff, like, is he going to get the expansion that we want to see him get? Doesn't seem like it. It seems like he's going to be in that same role because still getting fourth quarter reps in the preseason. So I think they're just going to lean all the way into that. We're going to see a lot of guys in that 30 to 50% range who are just playing in situations that fit their skill sets, and the Jets are going to try to keep these guys fresh. The one guy I do definitely want to see get more reps is Quinnen because like with the especially with the money you're paying him at this point, you want to justify that with him playing as much as some of the other stars in the league who are getting paid similarly, because I think he was 28th in snaps among D tackles last year, which, the fact that he put up the numbers he did, considering that, just shows how efficient he was. So if you give him the 5 to 10 snaps he's not getting that other guys are, he's going to throw a couple more sacks in there throughout the season that he didn't get last year, and he could be even more dominant. So
I hate that's a debate though. Like, just play Quinnen 70% of snaps, like give him that high leverage, and the other 3, bring in Al Woods, bring in Jefferson. I love the idea of like if a healthy Lawson and Jermaine, then you have Will McDonald and Huff behind them being insane. And Will McDonald's a guy that I don't know what it was, his college tape, or he just didn't look like big. He looked more like lanky, can get around people. He looks like a fucking monster on the field. Like, he actually is tall, strong. The spin move is going to be great when he does a fake spin move and murders a tackle at some point this year. He does
his
so
segment
often.
was so weird in Hard Knocks.
I hated that he did the thing where he was on his back and then flipped like up, and Salah was like, "What did he just do?" It just don't get hurt by doing that. And then the segment where he got an eye piercing.
So weird.
Was tough.
Crying.
I didn't.
It made me cringe a little bit.
It was tough, but yeah, I think the D line rotation on the edge, I'm more open to it, knowing that we have truly 4 guys that I would feel really comfortable. We didn't even mention JFM, or I didn't mention them. So there's a lot of guys that will be cool to rotate. Just keep Quinnen. I don't want a ridiculous 3rd and 5 or defensive line without
Quinn
Quinnen.
is on the sideline, so annoying. But it would be a little less annoying to Nania's point when you put in not Nathan Shepard, put in someone
You put
else.
in Al Woods instead. Yeah.
Just put Quinn in. But to that point too, I guess similar to that point, with all the defensive line depth, it feels like the linebacking core is a little bit weak, especially, Quan's gone. Mosley's an all-pro last year, but another year older. You have Quincy Williams, but behind that, bleak. You had to figure maybe, and then the Jets are hosted some free agents, signed some older vets. You have you have Sherwood and you have Zaire Barnes and you have Chaz Surratt, but what I think the Jets should at least explore making some kind of move in that area. That's the one spot where you're like, thin, very thin.
Yeah, I mean, I like Sherwood, but the thing that concerns me in terms of him replacing Quan is I don't think he's the same kind of player, because what we liked about Quan was just how much of a wrecking ball he was. He would take blocks on the edge, he'd lower his shoulder and just blow up plays. Even when he wasn't making the hit himself, just the impact that he had with setting the edge, taking out blockers, it created a lot of run stuffs for other players because he's just causing so much havoc, blowing up holes. And I don't think, while I like Sherwood, I don't think he's that kind of linebacker. I think he's closer to like a Mosley, where he's like, kind of let plays develop, chase him down, make smart plays. Obviously, he's a converted safety, so I think he has some coverage upside, but I don't know if he's as much of that same tone setter as Quan. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. I do feel confident he's going to play well. It's just, who's going to set that tone in the way that Quan is doing it. And Quincy obviously does that as well, but just, having both of those guys out there was, it was intimidating to have those two. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, Quincy Williams was the winner of the Harvey Lange Psychopath of the Year award.
Yeah.
Or was it the Frankie Louvu award, Matt? Was it?
I think it. Yeah,
it's funny to see that like Frankie Louvu is a star for the Panthers now. Like I was at the game and there are so many Louvu jerseys and people have like a Louvu chant. So
did he win?
Wow.
Did he lead the league in tackles for loss last year? Some ridiculous stat.
Something like that. He did, I think.
Yeah. Well, the one that got away.
Nania, what's next for a Jets X Factor? I'm thinking about getting back into. I do like one blog a month, maybe even like one every.
Got to get you back. The Franz Ferdinand article is an absolute hit.
I think I'm gonna. I was thinking today of how the signing of the Treaty of Versailles in 1919 led to Aaron Rodgers becoming a New York Jet, and like it's tough because I'm looking at like you have to look at tragedies that occurred, like worldwide events, to then make things change. And I'm like, I don't want to go down that route. And I'm like looking at how to map it, but that will be coming at some point. But what's next for Jets X Factor and you guys? Because I know every day, articles, videos, you guys are killing it. I guess we're part of it because you can see in the logo, we have the Jet X thing, and we'll put it in the description. But yeah, tell us what you guys are up to.
Yeah, I mean, with the Cool Your Jets podcast, I think Ben and I are pushing to really be more consistent than we were throughout part of this off season. So we've been staying at it with, previews and recaps. Consistency is sometimes the hardest thing, but, we're devoted to making sure we're sticking to it. But JetX, I mean, just, I'd say expect more of the same, more crazy takes based on stats, or I'm going to say your favorite superstar isn't good and some random practice squad guy is. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, just a lot more of the same. Like I've been watching a lot of film, digging into the analytics just on all the, with Cook coming in, some of the, and, with preseason coming back, it's so much fun because there's finally new film to watch after, 7-8 months, just like rewatching the same games from last season. It's like, it's like when your favorite show, you got to wait 2 years for the next season. You're just rewatching scenes from the old season, finally get trailers for the new season. That's like what preseason is. So a lot of preseason film. So yeah, just more of the same of the classic analytics and film blend. I think that's what we're always trying to do.
God, can't wait for season 2023 of the Jets.
It's gonna be fun. Can't wait for week 1. See you guys pregame.
Oh, week 1 is gonna be electric. I mean, the only game that
can't
you
wait.
could probably, remember 2009 week 2 is that famous, the Jets home opener against the Patriots is that famous super loud stadium.
The Rex called the season ticket holders and said, be as loud as you possibly can be. That's an iconic. That's probably the biggest win in the first quarter of a season in the past 20 years for the Jets. Winning that game and having Sanchez get his feet under him, win a home game against Bill Belichick, and then everyone thought they were going to get murdered the week after against Tennessee, and they won that game.
Yeah.
What a year.
In those uniforms.
The
Titans. Oh, man.
Nania, you're a big uniform guy. What do you think about the throwback? Because you love the current uniform.
Oh, yeah.
Love them. Yeah, I do defend the currents more than most people, but I do think the throwbacks are better. I mean, when they came out, I put out a post or a tweet. I'm going to call them tweets. I just ignore that it's X. It's
don't do
Z forever. So I don't do Zeets. I actually downloaded like some mod that changes it so it looks like Twitter on my desktop. so anyway, I put out a tweet that said, I think these should be the primaries next year because they're just clean. And I think with the helmets, because they have these modern helmets that are very shiny and sleek. So I think you combine that with the kind of old school, simple looking uniform. I think you get the best of both worlds. So that's what I like about it. And I do want to see them go to that permanently next year because that's when the window opens. It's been 5 years now since the amazing reveal that they had with JB Smoove and everyone in 2019. So the door is open for them to change them officially next year. So yeah, I love them.
I like the non-white on green. White on green, I think it's like a classic Jet uniform too, and it's so bad in my opinion in the current ones. But everything else, I can watch the game. I think the green on white looked great against Carolina.
Yeah, look really
white
good.
On white is great. The black on black. I lobbied for the white on black, the Colts game, and I tweeted Woody Johnson like 100 times, and he actually did it.
Yeah,
which is fun. But yeah, Mike, anything before we wrap up? Anything we want to make sure we can address with Nania?
Oh, man, now I'm just thinking about the uniforms. I'm just jaded because I love the Parcells uniforms. It's like, and I don't hate the new ones, but it's like you had a really great girlfriend, thought it was gonna work out, doesn't work out. You start dating like another girl, she's
And it was kind of influenced by a lot of fans who were like pushing for it. Like you remember, like with Darren Lee, like he was kind of pushing it. So it's almost like you got tired of the old girl and you just want to try something new. And now you got it, and you're like, I kind of want the old one back.
The grass is not always greener on the other side, but it looks like.
Although in this case, it literally is greener.
The grass is a different shade of green on the other side.
Different shade of green.
Yes,
dude. Now that Darren Lee's in prison, I want to reveal what he DM'd me.
Is he in prison?
Yeah, he got arrested.
Did he go? Is he like in house arrest? Like, is he watching?
Let me edit the banner to Darren Lee.
I remember once in like 2018 or something, I'd posted a clip or something. He DM'd me saying, that wasn't my fault.
Oh yeah,
I kind of remember that.
Oh no, probably was. He probably.
I'm gonna do a full video on it because he told me not to tell anyone because he thought it would impact him getting back in the league. And I was like, I would never tell anyone. And now that he can't get back in the league because he might be in prison, I feel like I can talk about it. It was an Adam Gase story and a Dow Loggins story. The three of them together 2 months before they traded him, before training camp.
Wow.
So there was an event that occurred between the three of them, and he DM'd me the entire story, and it is electric.
They had a threesome. No?
I'm not going to deny that that's what he said.
No, we'll see. It's clickbait.
Also, you guys inspired me to look back. I don't even remember this. I had so many DMs exchanging with Darren Lee.
Oh, no, he probably told Nania
dozens
also.
in here.
You ignored Darren Lee's DMs. Dude, maybe Buster Screen also was pleading his innocence to you. Someone called him, I think it was Zach Carr, called him Busted Screen. I was cracking up.
It's like when you called Billy Turner Billy Turnstile when he didn't even play a single down yet. I feel so bad.
Poor Billy Turner. I think if Billy Turner changed his number from 54 to like 77, he would just be a better offensive lineman.
No, 54 is holding him back. That is bad.
It is.
Can't block people with that number.
He just looks like a fullback. You just go around.
Who's a good lineman with a 50s number?
No one. Maybe
a center.
Maybe a center.
Yeah, center. There might be some centers in there. Tackle,
Nania,
though,
you pulled it out. I forgot Brees Hall was 35. right? And
Was
he
he?
moved to 20.
Yeah. Yep.
And Sauce Gardner was 20. And
I forgot about
went to
that.
1.
I'm a fan of the traditional uniform numbers, but fucking Jermaine Johnson looks so good in 11.
Yeah.
God.
Huge upgrade. That added a lot of speed for sure.
I love it. All right.
You could even like back that up scientifically. I mean, it's just less surface area of the numbers. His jersey is
There's
lighter.
more aerodynamic.
It's more aerodynamic, especially
You
with
got
the
a blog
font they
idea.
have.
You got a
So
blog
there you
idea
go.
now. You should
Yeah.
write that blog. I'm sure that's going to go over well with people on Jets Twitter. Because you know that half of them don't get, a lot of people I would say don't get sarcasm. So when Rodgers went 0 for 6 in practice, I quote tweeted it. I was like, I'm here. It was a drop, miscommunication, wide receiver fault, drop, wide receiver fault,
Thrown away.
3 play offsides.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, thanks for the context. Like, Rich to me is an asshole for not making that context clear. And I was like, I thought people would clearly get the joke. Hundreds of people liked it and commented, thank you for bringing the context, Matt. And I didn't have the heart to tell them I wasn't.
You're like
there.
the next gen stats post, like of Zach's velocity or something. You remember
That was a
that?
good one.
Dude,
Yeah.
there's like
the battle you're in right now. What's his name? Like, take back our country.
Mike, have you seen that battle right now?
What am I doing?
So a guy named Take Back Our Country.
Oh, I saw it. So funny when you were pretending that Gase is in the assistant equipment manager.
He keeps sending me the photo of the webpage. Like, it's not there. I'm like, you're editing your photo and sending it to me with it.
Well,
not
so
there.
for the people who haven't seen that, basically Adam Gase went to Broncos practice. Matt went on the Broncos website and photoshopped in that Adam Gase is the assistant equipment manager. And now there's a Broncos fan arguing with Matt that Adam Gase is
He's
not
a Jets
the assistant
fan.
equipment
I think he's
manager.
Jets fan. He follows
Is he?
you and me, right? I think so.
Oh, he
I
doesn't
just
follow
assumed the
me.
Broncos fan, but
He follows me, so I don't know. I was gonna like kind of reply to him. There's like, oh, he follows me, so whatever.
I love Nania. Your reply, you're like, no, look, it is. Look,
It
and you
is.
send him Matt's tweet.
No, he made it better, I think, right?
Yeah, I tried to make a better edit, make it more accurate. And
Yeah, Nania did it.
He'll be like,
a
wow,
better
I think
job.
he's actually right. But no, in general, like people don't really get sarcasm because I'm very sarcastic. I post a lot of sarcastic tweets, so sometimes
Of
people
the
don't
original
get it.
ones
Like
where it was like,
I did
most
the one with
exciting
Cook
play
a
in
couple
Jets
days ago.
history.
I was like, when I brought up the Brees Hall number, I was like, this is very important for running back. It can make or break their career. So I'm sure a lot of people didn't get that I was kidding. But
I remember the old one. I would tweet out like, "What's the most like exciting play in Jets history?" And you're like, "This 1 yard run from."
Oh yeah, I remember that. It's like this 1 yard run by Frank Gore or whatever it was.
I used him in the Immaculate Grid today.
I did also 9%.
I used Sanchez for Jets Cowboys. I didn't think it'd be a big number.
I did Jason Taylor. I wanted to pick someone more unique, but I couldn't think, so I just fell back. I had Terrell Basham though for Cowboys, and
a good one.
Corey Davis for Titans.
I was thinking about after the fact, I had like Ropati Pitoitua was on the Titans after the Jets. I was like, motherfucker.
He's one of my favorite random Jets players.
Dude,
all right.
But
I think we're good.
Too.
And Nanny, you're going on the Jets X Factor YouTube in a half hour, right? I saw that tweet.
Yeah.
So enjoy it. Nanny, we appreciate you coming on. Mike, anything before we wrap up?
No, I got nothing else. I hope Darren Lee wrapped up when him, Gase, and Dowell Loggins were doing whatever they were doing.
Have a good one, boys.
Take care.